Hello and welcome everybody to The Next Woman Up. I'm Michael Waterloo, joined by Melissa Triebwasser, and we are very, very excited to kick things off today with a new podcast on the Winsidr Podcast Network. Melissa, how's it going?
It's great, Michael. Like you said, I'm super excited about this opportunity to connect something that we both love, women's college basketball with the WNBA. Both of us cover both of those leagues. So I think this is a space that really hasn't had a whole lot of attention in women's basketball. And so I think we're the right people to do it.
I do too. We connected a few months ago. We were doing some stuff for the Winsidr Patreon, which, by the way, nice plug there. Be sure to go to Patreon Winsidr and subscribe. But we were like, hey, that was awesome. We vibed very well. Let's what can we do with this? And we're like, hey, we both love college hoops. We were both in Birmingham last year for the Elite Eight and Sweet 16, and we said, hey, let's go ahead and do this for Winsidr. And of course, Winsidr, we always cover the WNBA. So this isn't going to be a usual college basketball show or a usual WNBA show. It is going to be a show that we're looking to get out every other week, maybe weekly. Who knows what the frequency of it, but we're going to be regulars here wherever you get your podcasts. And I know we do have a special guest this week as well as next week and another week lined up. So, Melissa, before we get into those, how about we do a rundown about what the show's about?
Yeah, I think that we'll kind of stick to a simpler kind of thematic element here each week, segment by segment, so that you guys kind of know what to expect and can also tell us some of the players and the games you'd like to see us talk about too. Each week in segment one, we're going to talk about what caught our eyes. So some of the biggest games, the ranked on ranked matchups, games of the week, the nationally televised games, the ones that everybody's paying attention to, the ones that have the best draft prospects, the biggest names, the brightest lights, all of those things. We'll break down some of the games that caught our eye and that we were paying attention to, and that we really had fun watching and enjoying. We'll talk about some of the underrated players, the mid-majors that maybe aren't getting the national love but still have a chance to be professionals in the future, or just really, really fun to watch. And then we're going to talk about stat lines of the week, which right now looks like we're going to call it the Audie Crook segment of the week, because she seems to be putting up something ridiculous every single time she steps foot on the court. So that'll be segment one, just talk about the games and the lines and the things that really stood out to us in this week in college basketball.
And then we will go into segment two. And while Audie Crooks might not be on this year's big board, she will be on big boards of the future. But segment two is big board. That's where we do our evaluation at Winsidr. We will be doing mock drafts throughout the season as we head up closer to the draft. We released our first one on winsidr.com about 2 weeks ago. So we'll be looking at the mock drafts as we go, our evaluation, our big board, because we know mock drafts and big boards, they don't always align properly because WNBA is all about where you go, not when you go. So we'll be looking at different movement throughout the season as players just keep putting up fantastic stat lines. Are they going up? Are they going down? And we're going to be looking at upcoming matchups too and anticipatory results for players that we can say, hey, I think on my next one, the next adjustment I make to my big board, this player here is going to be moving up or down.
Yeah, and I've already had probably about 3 things I want to change based on our first mock draft, just off of the last 2 weeks of games, and we're not even into conference play yet, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of adjustments going forward too. I think my favorite segment is going to be the segment 3, which is my favorite Hooper's favorite Hooper. We're going to be talking to some of the best players in college basketball about who they like to watch, both in the professionals and college, getting to know the games that your favorite player is modeling themselves after, or the players that they want to watch. Is again just another way to get in tune with who's going to be next in the WNBA. We have a really fun interview segment this week, or for our first episode of Your Favorite Hooper's Favorite Hooper, as Michael had a chance to talk to Mia Jacobs and has a great interview with her that I think you guys are really going to enjoy at the end of this episode.
Yeah, I really enjoyed speaking with Mia. I can't wait for you all to hear that. Before we get to that, we're also going to be going to segment 4 called They Got Next. And that's also going to be a time where we get to look at the players who are going to be going in WNBA, maybe not in 2026, but 2027, 2028, 2029, and eventually we'll get to 2030 and all that. But we have a very fun one that we interviewed as a little tease that'll be coming out for the next episode. And let's just say she is a lockdown player, offensively, defensively. You're hearing her name in a lot of circles. You're going to want to tune in for that. But you'll find out more at the end of the episode. And, you can call that the favorite Hooper's next favorite Hooper.
And then our semi-final segment here each week will be what's on tap, and that's where we're going to look ahead to what's coming up. The biggest games, the best players, the biggest matchups. We'll start looking at the conference standings, a little bit of bubble talk potentially, even as we start to think about March Madness. But that'll be highlighting the games that are coming up and the players that you're going to want to watch between our episodes.
And after that, we will just be saying so long, but it's not goodbye because we will be seeing you later. And we'll just be kind of getting ready for the week that's coming up and kind of teasing our next episode because you'll be back here to listen to that. But Melissa, not saying goodbye right now. Let's say hello and get into segment one. I want to know what caught your eye this past week. And before before we get into all that, we'll just say this first episode, it's going to be a little shorter. It'll be around 20 minutes, 30 minutes this week. We're going to be aiming to have about 30 to 40 each week. But because it's the first episode, we're getting to know you. You're getting to know us. We're going to kind of keep it short here. So we're going to very quickly go over segment one and some players or games that caught your eye this week. So if you'd like to start.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I love about women's basketball is we're still seeing an impetus on scheduling big games in November and December. We've had some absolutely unbelievable matchups between ranked opponents, power programs, blue bloods. It seems like there's been a lot of opportunity for teams to test themselves in the early going. And I love that you can do it in the sport because you have a 64 team field that you're going to have, or 68 team, whatever it is, that you're going to have an opportunity to be a part of. And so we saw some very high powered matchups, great coaching, great players, and just really fun games with the national stage. NC State and Oklahoma is probably the first one we should talk about. The star power in that game was absolutely unbelievable. So many big time players. Aaliyah Chavez has been as good as advertised, coming out of Lubbock. I think that though a lot of people in women's basketball circles obviously knew who she was, I think there were questions of whether that game would translate immediately to be able to play on an Oklahoma team that has stacked and has big goals this season, and she showed out once again. I mean, her offensive performance through the first couple of 6 weeks of the season or so has really been as good as advertised, and she looks like she's going to be a game changer. Watching her and Zoe Brooks go at it, bucket for bucket down the stretch was a ton of fun.
It really was. And the game going into overtime, too, just was kind of the cherry on top there. You had Aaliyah Chavez going off. You had Reagan Beers going off, Sahara Williams. And then, as you said, on the NC State side, Zoe Brooks, Tilda Trigger. It was just a fantastic game to watch. Probably my favorite game of the week because I really, really, really like the NC State team. I know, obviously, that they had some big losses over the past couple of years for the WNBA, but Zoe Brooks is just one of my favorite players to watch. Her hesitation that she has, her speed that she has, it's just really, really fun. She's one of my favorite players. And Aaliyah Chavez is just, I have a feeling that is going to be a player for years to come on your favorite Hooper's favorite Hooper, because she is just electric and as advertised. It's really hard with all the hype that she had coming into her freshman year to be able to live up to that. And we're not even a third of the way through the season, like you said in the beginning. We're not even in conference play yet, but being able to kind of schedule these big time games and just show that like Oklahoma is here to stay, that they are the real deal after a big win against Florida State, to be able to beat NC State the way they did. And the only mark on their the only loss so far that they have on their record is against UCLA, which, hey, we understand that. That's totally acceptable. So that was just a fantastic game.
Yeah, and I mean, I had a chance to go out to NC State a couple weeks ago to watch TCU play out there, and watching Donovan Hunter and Zoe Brooks kind of go tet for tet was a ton of fun. TCU obviously got the W there, but the atmosphere and the environment in that arena was absolutely electric, and it's really cool to see a program that has produced such good talent. I cover the Wings out here in DFW, and so watching Isaiah James play and seeing how she developed in her first year in the league, it's fun to see the support that program has. We talk about NC State maybe as kind of one of those new blue bloods at a program that's just in the top 25 pretty regularly. One of the best games, if you're a child of the 90s like myself. I'm really a child of the 80s. I don't want to age myself too much, but watching Tennessee and Stanford play, even though this is not your Tara Vanderveer, Pat Summitt, Tennessee, Stanford matchups, it still was a heck of a game. Stanford, it looks like after a really tough season last year, is starting to find their footing again and get back to being a consistent consistent program. Still not quite in the top 25, but certainly peaking on the door at 8-2 on the season. Lost a heartbreaker to Tennessee on their home court. But again, to see two of those just true blue blood programs, two of the elite, just kind of names in the sport match up in December is so good for the game. And what a great game it was, too.
Yeah, it truly was. I was texting with my one friend who is a die-hard Stanford fan throughout the game. It's just like, man, you have so much hope. The future is looking really bright. And the fact that they were able to like they won the first quarter battle against Tennessee, which was really, really big. Did a good job at the time of holding Talisa Cooper and Janiyah Barker throughout the whole game for the latter. Bay, and especially how Kim Caldwell handles her Tennessee team, where how she has the hockey line changes. Everybody knows about that now, and it's really being able to test, get through that battle in the first half whenever she's kind of doing that. And we saw Tennessee start to pull away there in the second quarter. I think they won it 14-8, 14-6 around there. But then Stanford really just came back in the second half and made it a very, very, very good game. So yeah, last year obviously Stanford did not make the NCAA tournament, and that doesn't happen because it's a
Yeah.
blue blood program that you're always used to seeing there. If this is any sign of things to come, it was a heartbreaking loss, but Jay-Z said there's no such thing as moral victories, but I think this is a moral victory right here because they showed like, hey, we can play against one of the top programs out there, and things are looking promising moving forward for Stanford.
Yeah, I think you get those building blocks early in the season, and the ACC play is, which is still weird to say Stanford is an ACC team, but the ACC play is going to test them. But for a team that's still kind of relatively young and still building and trying to figure it out, I think that was a great showing. Talk about another great showing, that South Carolina Louisville game. Whew. That again, just that Louisville team, and again, like people will figure out. I cover TCU. I went to TCU. I will openly admit my bias towards TCU, but I will try to cover all of women's basketball fairly. But a lot of what I have a lot of experience, obviously, watching teams play TCU. Louisville came through Fort Worth last year, and that team was scrappy and tough, and they just played such hard-nosed basketball. And Dawn Staley got to see that firsthand the other night when her South Carolina team had to really fight down the stretch to take that win. Heck of a game, just really clutch shot making, and a ton of fun to see those two teams go at it.
It really was. It was fantastic. I'm located here in Atlanta area, so it is very big South Carolina country around here. So I'm tuned in, and like I know a lot of people are here, but it was just they just impressed me so much. I'm a big Dawn Staley fan, as you can see right
Yeah,
here. Love her,
same.
fantastic. And since you admitted your bias, I'm an Oregon Duck fan. So Mia Jacobs, was it planned that she was the first one? We'll never know. But anyway, watching South Carolina play, it was just amazing. I love seeing, I think my favorite moment of the game was Joyce Edwards hitting a three,
Yeah.
just because it's just like, that reminds me of like Asia Wilson whenever she's starting to hit threes in Vegas. It's just like, okay, there's one thing we didn't have to worry about. Now we have to worry about it with her. And I know we'll get to it in the big board, but Medina Akatu is just so good. Her stock is just rising up. This was another huge performance for her. 10 of 16 from the field, 23 points. And I believe she had a total of 13 rebounds too. So she is just such a force there. The transfers there is making a difference. I know Dawn spoke about wanting to keep her for another year. I don't know that that's going to happen because
Yeah.
she is looking more and more of the part of a top 5, top 6 pick. Some people will argue top 2 or 3. So it depends on where you go there. But yeah, what a fantastic game. It was awesome at the end of the game seeing Louisville's coach, who the name slipped my mind right
Jeff
now, and
Walls.
Don, yes, Jeff Walls, and Don at the end just kind of like exchange a hug, a handshake, and he's just like, man, that close. You can see Don just breathe out
Yeah.
like, you guys pushed us. You guys pushed us. And you know that Don's like, thank you for pushing us. We need
Yeah.
that for those big moments because they're battle
Absolutely.
tested. They're ready for March.
Well, and I love that game because it came out and it was just an absolute scoring bonanza in that first quarter. But give a ton of credit to Jeff Walls because after it looked like South Carolina had taken a little bit of control going into the break, they came out with an incredible third quarter, played a nearly perfect third quarter on both ends of the floor, and set us up for that dramatic finish. So again, like I can't say it enough. I love when teams get like schedule these games, are willing to play these games, are willing to test themselves because it puts such a positive spotlight on women's basketball. I'm constantly fighting the battle as someone that covers TCU, all TCU sports, of trying to get people to invest in the women's basketball program. It's always like, well, it's not a good product. It's not that. How can you watch a game like that and say it's not a good product? I think we saw, obviously the offenses were really, really on point, but we saw great defense. We saw great rebounding. We saw incredible coaching. And you saw, like you said, individual talent and team success. Like, that is the kind of thing that when you tune in that game, no matter what you think you are or aren't a fan of, that game makes you appreciate just what high-level basketball is being played at the college ranks now by these top teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a newsletter and I wrote in it a couple weeks ago, like right after the Michigan UConn game. I was just like, any level of basketball, any league, this was my favorite game to watch all year. It just speaks about the high level that's being played in all these programs. Whenever we're able to see these teams just play this soon against each other, it's
Yeah.
phenomenal. Like you saw Texas, like Texas to me is one of the best teams in the league, in the country, and that's obviously like hot take
They're
right
a
there, right?
wagon.
But
They are a
just
wagon this year.
seeing them against UCLA, seeing them against South Carolina, just be able to kind of prove themselves that early, it's just like, yeah, this is what we want to see. And like, there's some programs who still are hesitant to kind of play those top teams because they don't want it to be exposed early. Meanwhile, you see Texas just like, no, we're going to be running through it. And they also ran through UNC earlier this week. That was another game that we highlighted, the Texas UNC game, but it was just Texas dominating again,
Yeah.
as well as the Ole Miss and Notre Dame game as well. We saw that big comeback from Ole Miss, and typically on a week to week, we would break all these down. But since we're trying to keep this one a little tighter here, Melissa, what do you say that we head into segment 2, the big board?
Yeah, let's do it. Big board. So I think this first one, because again, it's going to be really hard for us to do a lot with the mock drafts until the CBA is signed and we know what the heck is happening with these teams and these rosters. At this point, it's more of a big board than it is a mock draft, right? I think that's kind of how we're looking at things. Fit is really going to be a question for a while. But what do you think is the biggest thing? Like, if you had to change one pick today, what's that pick that you would change based off your initial big board?
Yeah,
I put you on the spot there. I didn't give you a heads up on that one.
you didn't at all. And it makes it really hard because we don't know the order that even Toronto and Portland are going to be
Yeah.
picking in. So again, they're starting from scratch. I think right now, maybe I'm prisoner of the moment, but I think I'm moving Medina Akkad up to fifth overall. And Gianna Neekins, I'm moving her down a little bit. I had her fifth overall mainly because Chicago, they need that shooting. And hey, having another big go to Chicago, don't love that. It's not going to happen. We know that. Again, I'm looking at this as a big board. So she right now is my number 5, maybe number 4 overall player. I'm not a big Lauren Betts person. I love her college game. I love what she brings. And I feel really bad because that seems to be the conversation lately, is just like, hey, she was the number 1 overall and now she's moving down draft boards. Still think there's a good role for her in the WNBA, be a rotation player, but Medina just looks different, man. She just looks like she is going to be a force at the next level. So she's my riser right now, that if I had to change it right now, that's probably the move I would make, with the understanding, the caveat that Chicago will not be taking her. But you?
Yeah. I'd say, like, I think that you're absolutely right. I mean, when you look at the perfect picture of what this league wants in a big right now, and you can look at Dominique Malonga as kind of setting the trend, and some, Awa Pham and some of these other players that they want the athletic rim runners that can defend the paint, they can block shots, and they can get out and transition and run. And she's still so raw. I mean, she's played so little competitive basketball compared to what is in front of her. I think there's so much room for growth, so much opportunity. She's the one GM is going to absolutely fall in love with her in the top 5, would be my guess. And I think it's impossible that she doesn't go there. I really struggled in mine because, again, I don't want to be overly biased, and I try to take my purple tinted glasses off. But I really like Maggie Dugan. Maggie Dugan's going to be one of my favorite players this entire draft season. But I kept Marta Suarez out of the first round just based on I didn't want to see like a homer. And then in the 2 weeks since I did that, she's gone ahead and put on just an absolute clinic display of what an ideal stretch 4 can be. I mean, she's every bit of 6'3". She is an elite scorer. She can handle, she can initiate the pick and roll. She can roll in the pick and roll. She can shoot the 3. She does everything well. I think defensively, she's been good, if not elite at this point. And rebounding, I think we started to see her pick that up a little bit for a TCU team that has a ton of size, and so hasn't really asked that of her. But I think that she's put herself on a lot of WNBA GM's radar now that she's playing in a system that can really exploit her skills. There are not a lot of stretch fours that have Marta Suarez combination of size, speed, and skill. She's bringing the ball up for Olivia Miles about 25% of the time right now for TCU, and she's initiating the offense. And there's just not a lot of 6'3" women that can do that and shoot the three. And her bag is deep, man. Her bag is deep on drives. So I think she right now would be she'd be in my top 15 for sure. And we'll see when she gets to Big 12 play and the scouting is a little bit better if she can continue this performance. But right now, I think she's absolutely showing that she deserves a place in the WNBA and very potentially the first round.
Yeah, I absolutely love her game and love that call, TCU. I do not have the purple tinted lenses on, so I'm able to say TCU is just a very fun team to watch, very great program, and yeah, it's her growth and development is something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on because TCU really could have two players go in the first round. There was that talk last year, but obviously that did not come to fruition. It could this year. I've been on record saying Olivia Miles is my favorite player in the draft. I still think if I had to say, if this was just a true big board and just player overall, Olivia Miles is still my 1-1. I still think
Yeah,
she is. I still think there's a lot of Chelsea Gray there for her. And,
sure.
she was supposed to be the consensus second overall pick last year. And then we saw Dominique Malonga start going up, and she says she was coming back. Sonia Citron ended up going number 3 overall. But, just seeing both players from TCU just grow this year, especially with Donovan Hunter, who we are a big fan here of this program, is something that I'm looking forward to this year. We obviously both posted this out on social media. It was on the Winsidr channels as well. You can follow both of us, and we will get into that later, but you can follow us on social media as well as Winsidr. What was the feedback that you got? Was there anybody who, I know the rules always don't read the comments, but we both read the comments. So was there anybody, any pushback that you got that people were like, you're way too high or you're way too low on this player?
No, I kind of was expecting to get a little bit, especially with I thought the Maggie Dugan at the end of the first round would get a little people's hackles raised, but I think that, fans of the game, and you don't, be careful here, but we don't have a big time fan base that follows a player like we've had the last 2 years, where there's not a lot of, hey, if you undervalue this player, there's not that kind of hive mind around those super electric personalities, right? Olivia Miles, yeah, I think a lot of people would put her 1-1. Her 3-point shooting is going to have to get a little more consistent, I think, but she does, she's not the big time personality. She doesn't have that massive following that a Paige Beckers or a Caitlin Clark obviously have had, and so I think that there's a lot of curiosity around this, and until, like we said, the CBA and the expansion draft order and all that is set, it's really hard to critique too much. I think people are really interested in some of the overseas players that might be coming over and how they're going to fit in and where they end up landing. But collegiately, I think the most polarizing player in the draft is Lauren Betts. And like you said, unfortunately, right now it's people saying, I don't know that she is, a top 5 pick because of how will her game translate. And so I'm excited for Lauren. I think, we talk about TCU might have 2 first-round players. UCLA might have 5. 4 or 5 is a very reasonable. And so I think we see this a lot across all of college athletics. The longer you stay in the game, the more your film starts to get picked apart. And I think that's what's happening to Lauren right now. She's still a heck of a player. She's still a really elite college basketball player. But playing with so much talent around her might hurt her more than help her. The team success obviously will keep her name in the lights, but she's not having as much of an opportunity to maybe show off her individual value. And that's going to be a tough thing as they get into conference play to see how can she continue to market herself as one of the elite players. And I think she's handled every interview and everything so well, and her media savviness is really exceptional, and her maturity is really exceptional. But in the name of trying to win a championship, it's going to probably impact her draft stock. And I guess in one sense, that's what we want, is for women's sports to be treated like everything else, right? But in another sense, it's kind of unfortunate. But like you said, I still think this is it's more about fit than position. And if she ends up going to a place that knows how to use her, you look at like the Wizards with Stephanie Dolson or something like that. Like that could be something where she could develop into that type of role with the team if given time in the right system.
Yeah, I think if the draft order stays how it is right now, then I think her going fourth to Washington makes the most sense. And I know we both have that. People were, saying, "Hey, was Shakira Austin?" I don't know if we may have seen the last game Shakira
Yeah.
Austin played in Washington. I'll just say that, and they will need a big there. Steph Dolson is a free agent, also, so they have three picks again in the first round, just like last year. I love what
Crazy.
Washington's doing. I just wrote about them at Winsidr.com. You can go ahead and read that. One player who was hoping to elevate her game enough to get into the first round, or the second round, or the third round is Mia Jacobs from the University of Oregon. Just to kind of break the fourth wall here a little bit, we're recording this on Sunday, December 7th. And last week, I was at the University of Auburn to catch the, at the time, 8-0 Auburn Tigers against the 8-0 Oregon Ducks. Oregon won that game 58-53. After the game, I chatted with Mia a little bit. I was, big fan of her game from LaSalle to Fresno State. Now she transferred to Oregon. In our interview, she talks about wanting the opportunity to go to a P4 school, what her plans are after she graduates, if she wants to go pro. If she doesn't, spoiler alert, she wants to go pro. A player on her team that has really caught her eye, and Katie Fiso, who has 5 point and assist double doubles, and the next closest in the country right now has two. So we're going to go ahead and fade out and bring in Mia for our conversation, and we'll catch you on the other side.
All right, I'm Michael Waterloo here with the Next Woman Up, a Winsidr podcast, and I'm sitting right here in the Auburn Gymnasium after Oregon defeated Auburn 58-53 with Mia Jacobs, senior for Oregon. Mia, how's it going? Congratulations on the win.
I'm going good. It's nice to get a good win, 9-0, so cruising along quite nicely. But yeah, making sure each day we show up and show out.
And we have a little mic here, so we're going to be passing things back and forth. We will fix that, I promise. But yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit about your decision to kind of come to Oregon after going to LaSalle and then Fresno State, coming over to Oregon. Just wanted to know a little bit about what went into that decision as you reached the end of your college career.
Yeah, obviously a senior, so 1 year left. I really wanted to step up my game, get into the Power Four school. Oregon has a great traditions. They have great Australians that have come through. They've also had just a really good coaching style. The style really benefits me and benefits my playing style, and just the way we're playing this year has been great, and it's been really fun to play with.
And you mentioned they have a history of having Australian players here. By my count, I believe you're the fifth Australian player to come through Oregon for the women's basketball team. Most recent, I believe, was Jazz Shelley, somebody I really enjoyed watching even after she transferred to Nebraska. We also know that Jazz ended up getting selected in the third round of the WNBA draft. Is that something that you have aspirations to do too, to play pro, whether it be WNBL, whether it be WNBA?
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing how this year goes. Obviously, pro is the plan, and that's where I want to go. But whether it's in America or if it's in Australia, it's something that I have to decide at the end of the year and see how my playing style either goes better with the Australian or the American. So, kind of just seeing how that goes and finishing off my college career first.
And you talk about your playing style, your game seems very fit, not only for the WNBA, but also for Oregon, for what coach likes to do here, being a player who's able to be a Swiss Army knife, if you will, kind of the switchability that you bring, the ability to kind of space the floor. Was that something that was really attractive to you when you were considering where you wanted to go after Fresno?
Yeah, obviously I've grown up playing the Australian style play, so finding something that was similar to that. So I started at LaSalle and with my two older sisters, which wasn't quite the style of play that I was looking for. So ended up moving to Fresno State, and it grew immensely with the style of play. We were a lot faster, but still not at that level that I wanted to be at. Got the things that I needed to achieve there, and then I wanted to go higher. So wanted to push myself and play against the best that there is, and the Big Ten is where it is at this stage where it is. So that's where I wanted to go. So finding somewhere in that.
And a player that's playing like among the best right now is Katie. Can you just kind of speak on her play so far? Like, I don't know if it's because, hey, I'm looking for a Australian comparison, but I see a lot of Jade Melbourne in her game. Just being able to kind of be that slicing guard, who the facilitator, setting up her teammates, playing with that speed and just that facilitating mindset that she has as a sophomore. What have you seen from her so far at your time in Oregon, and what kind of growth do you think she can take?
Yeah, well, we're only 9 games in, so we're not even a third of the way there, but she's been doing amazing. Obviously, she's so young, but honestly, the feedback that she's been getting has been really positive. We've been getting on her, obviously, but there's always room for improvement, but she's been doing really good. She's been one of our best people, but finding people, she's been one of our best scorers, just out and about everywhere, and then also she gets in the lanes, gets steals, so kind of the same where she's everywhere and really important piece on the court too.
Okay, growing up, is there a player that you really admired, or you tried to make your game kind of look like theirs, or that you just kind of like watching in today's game?
I really like Nafisa Collier. There was also another Australian, Darcy Garvin, who has done the opals and stuff like that. But Nafisa Collier, just as a now playing um, as a shorter small forward in the league, just trying to watch her game, trying to learn from that, the strength that she brings, not only for on the court stuff but off the court with her vocal and communication and things like that with her leadership.
And a former Duck made some news a few weeks ago whenever Sabrina came back to Oregon and kind of surprised everybody kind of dressed up there. Did you have a chance to kind of chat with her at all, or have you spoken with her at all before?
Yeah, we met a couple weeks ago at one of the football games. I take photos for our football, so I got to meet her, say hi. But yeah, the other night we got to have a little chat about the game and stuff like that. But it wasn't too much. So yeah, but loved having her around. She's been a great piece to have part of our program too.
So photojournalism a little bit is something that you enjoy, and if so, you've seen America now. You grew up in Perth, I believe it was. Which one's more photogenic and has like the better opportunities to take photos?
I would say America, just because the college scene is so big, and then the pro as well. That just the amount of teams and just the amount of massive people per land square and stuff like that. So there is a lot more opportunities in America. But I do love Australia. I love the beaches, and I grew up pretty much 15 minutes from the beach, so love that. The blue sea and white sands is something that you don't see in America. But yeah, I love both just as much as each other. But yeah, it's been my home for the last 4 years, so you gotta love it.
Since you've been here for 4 years, what's kind of been your go-to American meal?
I really like Chick-fil-A. That's probably one of my favorites. I also like In-N-Out. But I would say for home cooked, probably I really like the Thanksgiving dinner that we don't have Thanksgiving in Australia. So kind of seeing how everyone comes together and gives thanks as well. It's been really cool to see. Um, yeah, so that's been really cool too.
You're about to say that Thanksgiving dinner, that did somebody on your team kind of bring everybody together for Thanksgiving? Was that kind of a school initiated thing?
Yeah, well, the night before we had a team Thanksgiving that the hotel put together. So we were in Texas for that. And then one of our teammates, her dad, uh, brought down a bunch of food. He owns a restaurant. So Janiyah Williams, her family, brought down kindly. And it was amazing. The food was great. And we got a bit of that on Thanksgiving Day, which was really nice. But we kind of got to go off and do our own thing, which was really cool too.
And we'll get you out of here with this. You guys are obviously kind of taking longer flights, a lot of traveling and everything. Whenever you're on one of those flights, what's a go-to podcast or playlist that you have? Or are you more of just like, I'm getting my sleep right now while I can?
I'm a TV and movie watcher, so I like NCIS and Criminal Minds, and I'll watch that on repeat. But no, I can't sleep on planes, which unfortunately isn't the best. But we get the charter flight, so it's been really good with our legs and stuff like that. So the long flights aren't too bad.
All right, that was Mia Jacobs with the Oregon Ducks. Mia, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be on the lookout for you throughout the season.
Thanks for having me.
All right, and we're back here at the next woman up. Mia, thank you so much. It was great chatting with her, and yeah, she is just a player who I really enjoy watching. I called her, as you heard in the interview, a Swiss Army knife, and she really, really does that. Just kind of watching her on the court, being able to play off ball, like she's a wing, but she can kind of help facilitate the offense for that Oregon team who really needs those ball handlers. She is a lethal 3-point shooter, and she's somebody I think can have a role at the next level. She talked about loving America and loving Australia. So whether it's WNBL, whether it's playing here at the WNBA, I definitely think there's at least a training camp spot for her. She's somebody whose game that is really just appreciated by her teammates. I spoke to them after, and they just said, "Mia's fantastic. We're so happy she's here. She's one of our leaders on the squad." So, yeah, she's somebody I'm looking forward to just watching further progress this year. And is she somebody that you're pretty familiar with before this interview, Melissa?
No, I had not had a chance to. We've got some Oregon connections. Obviously, Mark Campbell is a former Oregon assistant, and one of my absolute favorite WNBA players is Sabrina Ionescu. So I followed that, and I'm a West Coaster. That's where I'm born and raised, California. So yeah, so it was really fun to get to kind of see behind the veil, get to know a player, and she'll be somebody I'm paying really close attention to now for the rest of the season. I was not as familiar with her game as the kids say. So that Oregon team, again, just quietly is always pretty solid, always has at least one or two really great players, always has a couple of pro prospects. So it's going to be fun to watch her continue to develop and see, like you said, where she ends up playing professionally, because it definitely appears that she will have a professional future.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're recording this on December 7th. We know that Oregon is going to be playing UCLA later. There are only 17 teams in the country who have not had a loss yet. And I'm getting this in while I can. The Oregon Ducks are one of those 17. So let's go, Ducks. Win the day. There's my bias pick of the day. And yes, it was great chatting with Mia as well. Appreciate her taking time after that very, very big win against Auburn. And their really first battle tested win that they had. So yeah, that was great. But that's not the only interview that we did this week, Melissa. We
Yeah.
actually have somebody else for the They Got Next session. She won't be in the 2026 draft, but I'll be damned if she's not one of the top prospects in the 2027 draft that is absolutely loaded, but her name deserves to be there as well. We spoke with her earlier this week for an episode that's coming out next. Somebody you're very familiar with. Do you want to get into it a bit?
Yeah. So the thing that's super funny is that you said that you had scheduled our first big interview with someone that you thought I'd be excited to talk to, and it was Donovan Hunter. I didn't even do this one. Like, I was like, what scheduled Dono? But I had no idea. So that was super fun. I'm a huge fan of Donovan Hunter. Last year, she was the baby on a team that was, I think their average age was like 35. And this year, she comes back as a junior and is one of the veteran players on a group. Talk about those 17 undefeated teams. TCU, which is 10-0 as we're recording this, and will be 10-0 when this comes out because they break for finals this week. So yeah, Dono is just getting to know her as a person before I really got to see her as a player. I was just so impressed with her maturity and the way she carries herself, and then watching her development. Last year she was a defensive stopper, struggled offensively as far as shooting the ball and scoring the ball, I thought, early in her sophomore campaign, but really came on at the end. It was massive for that TCU team in the Big 12 tournament, and into the Elite Eight, was definitely one of the top 2 or 3 players down the stretch for the Horned Frogs. And then this year, the thing that's really impressed me is, it looked like she was going to be TCU starting point guard, and then a little Olivia Miles decides to make her way to Fort Worth and changes Dono's role, and now she's playing shooting guard. And that work that she's put in, especially on her 3-point shot, I think is super, super evident. And she's been becoming more of a scoring option. We're still seeing her bring the ball up some. We're still seeing her initiate the offense. But the great thing in Mark Campbell's system is everybody eats. And we're really seeing Dono take advantage of that. And, that 3-headed monster at guard for TCU with Olivia Miles, Maddie Shear, and Donovan Hunter has been really fun to watch. And it's cool to see a player that is carving out a role and willing to play different roles. So I really enjoyed our conversation with her. Again, she's just one of my favorite human beings in college basketball, just a really great person. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy getting to know Donovan, both as a basketball player and as a human. And we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun talk. I knew we would, because she's great, but it was a great conversation. I don't know if you'd had a chance to may have talked to her in Birmingham a little bit, right?
I spoke to her in passing there. Usually for the media opportunities, we'd get Mark, Haley, Sedona, and Madison. So that was mainly it. But I was working on a story, so I got a quick clip from her. But that was really it. She's somebody I really, really enjoy watching. As we keep going with this podcast, you will learn something about me, everybody. I love defense. Defense is my favorite thing to watch. I love the switchability. I love the anticipation. I love the recovery. And Dono just checks all those boxes, as well as another player we're hoping to get an interview with very soon. We'll leave that, but maybe also in the Lone Star State. But Dono, anyway, defensively is just such a joy to watch. But we all knew that. We like to give a spoiler. We obviously want you to listen to the episode, and it was a good almost half an hour conversation that we had with her, and it was fantastic. But one of the questions I asked her is like, "What's the question you get asked the most?" And she said, "People ask me about my defense all the time because." She has that reputation just being that lockdown player, just so smart defensively and has that memory of a goldfish that if she gets beat, that's fine. She'll come back next time and she'll still lock down. She wants that top assignment like so many of the great players do. But it's really her offense that has taken just a major, major leap this season. It's been so awesome to watch. All her numbers across the board are up. And she, like you said, it was just a fun interview. Most players like we chat with, Mia was fantastic. She had a great time. She was laughing as you saw, smiling as we were sharing our tiny little microphone there. But like Donna was just fantastic. She was such a joy, such a great person. You can really tell that she loves this game. She loves what she's doing. And this is something that she just really gets. She just totally gets every single aspect of it, from being a leader, something she speaks about a little bit in our interview, her development on offense, her development on defense, and just kind of, hey, I got to put myself out there a little bit too. And she does it so well. Like you said, Lauren Betts, she handles all the media very well. Dono is fantastic as well. Especially, she was the baby last year on the team, like you said, her first year coming in from Oregon State. So seeing her just continue to grow there and play with Marta, play with Olivia, those two new players that TCU brought in, has been so great. And it's a great interview. I cannot wait for you all to hear it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that you guys are really going to enjoy as listeners. Is I think that the women in this sport really understand how important it is for the fan base to get to know them, and so I think you get a lot of transparency and authenticity, and that's modeled so well. So I think we'll have a chance to have some really great interviews and let you guys get to know some of these women, both on and off the court here over the course of the podcast. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We'll be getting that one ready for you, as well as a full deep dive into Donovan. We spoke a little bit here about like the progress she's made and everything, but expect myself and Melissa to do a full deep dive on her. Which, when we do have those players on here, we want to like hear from them, of course, and we also want to break down their game. So that's what is going to be coming up on tap. But what's on tap coming up within the country are some big games over the next couple of weeks. And not sure exactly what day this is dropping. So if Iowa State already happens, I am so sorry. But we'll just kind of mention that one because that's always a huge rivalry. But a couple other games, Melissa, really, really are be getting my attention, getting my excitement up. And I'll mention the first one, UConn versus USC. And there's another one that is happening in your neck of the woods next week. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I'll be out at Dickies Arena. I'm heading out to Dickies Arena after we record this for men's game, TCU and UNT, but we don't care about that on the show. And then next weekend on Sunday, Texas and Baylor. Down at Dickies. So a neutral site, but both those fan bases are going to travel really well. Dickies Arena in Fort Worth is an awesome facility to watch basketball games. So I'm super fired up to watch that game. I'm still reeling a little bit from TCU's Elite Eight loss to Texas a season ago, but Baylor is a little bit interesting. I think that they haven't looked quite as dominant as they kind of figure it out, but we can see them start to get in that groove. I think that is a team, obviously, as someone who is really tied into the Big 12. Baylor has been the team to beat in the Big 12. We've talked a little bit about Iowa State. Obviously, TCU won it a season ago, and so Baylor's got something to prove. They're playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and boy, do they have some elite talent, some players that hopefully we're going to have a chance to talk to a little bit too on that Baylor squad. And then Texas, obviously, as we talked about, is an absolute wagon this season. I mean, that is a team that looks built to make a run to the national championship and is much as we're going to talk about South Carolina and UCLA and UConn is quietly, this is probably the quietest preseason UConn's had because of the amount of shine on some of these other programs. Texas to me is right. I mean, obviously they're the number one team in the country right now, but that is a team that looks poised to make a very, very deep run into March and to get over the hump and maybe bring back a national championship in a loaded field.
Yeah, absolutely. They're one of my favorite teams to watch, and that's going to be a game that I'm canceling all plans to sit back and watch because I need to see Jordan Lee versus Talia Scott.
Yeah.
That again, I'm a defense guy. I want to see all Texas schemes to take away Baylor's top play. That is something I'm really, really going to be looking out for, and I cannot tell you how jealous I am that you get to watch it in person while I get to sit at home and watch it from my TV. But
and I get to watch a game that I have no personal stake in. Like, I can't remember the last time I've covered a game, like a college game, just to cover a college game. It's gonna be a ton of fun. So I'm super excited just to enjoy great basketball and get to watch it with my coach's brain instead of there's still a little bit of a TCU fan brain going on.
It's always a joy. And Melissa, I can't tell you how much of a joy this first episode was for me. Really looking forward to keeping this up as the year goes forward. We thank you all for tuning in with us today. You can follow the show on Blue Sky, on Twitter, and on Instagram. On Blue Sky at The Next Woman Up. On Twitter, I believe, Next Woman Up. And on Instagram, it'll be at The Next Woman Up. And ourselves, you can follow us on there as well. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Michael Waterloo and on Instagram at Hi, my name is Lou. And Melissa, I believe you can find you across the board at The Coach Melissa, correct?
The Coach Melissa on X and Blue Sky, and Melissa Trieb on Instagram. And I'll be posting photos from games that I cover as well. That's where you can. That's really a lot of TCU stuff. Let's be perfectly honest, but I think I'll be shooting at Texas Baylor as well, so that should be fun.
Awesome. Well, this was a blast. We thank you all for joining us. And be sure to listen, download, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you can hear that fantastic Donovan Hunter interview that we have coming up, as well as so much more, because these are the next women up.